Jesus was not qualified to be a priest. According to the Bible, he broke every rule required to stand between God and man. He came from the tribe of Judah. Priests came from Levi. Kings ruled. Priests served. By the standards of the law of Moses, Jesus did not meet the requirements. And yet, the New Testament boldly calls him our great high priest. That contradiction should disturb you, because if Jesus did not qualify under the system God himself established, then maybe that system was never meant to last. And that is exactly where Melchizedek enters the story. Before the law existed, before Mount Sinai, before sacrifices, altars, or priestly garments, there was already a priest of God Most High, not from Levi, not from Aaron, but from an order older than the law itself, the order of Melchizedek. Under the law, priesthood depended entirely on genealogy. You did not become a priest because you were righteous. You became one because you were born into the correct family line. And even then, the system was fragile. Scripture says, the former priests were many in number because they were prevented by death from continuing in office. Hebrews 7 verse 23. So, priests sinned, priests grew old, priests died, and every death interrupted the ministry. Sacrifices were offered daily, yet sin remained. The blood of animals could cover sin, but it could not remove it. Access to God was limited, and the veil still stood as a reminder that something was unfinished. Then Scripture asks a question so quiet, yet so devastating, that it exposes the weakness of the entire system. If perfection had been attainable through the Levitical priesthood, what further need would there have been for another priest to arise after the order of Melchizedek? Hebrews 7 verse 11. That question changes everything, because it reveals that the law was never God's final solution. Jesus did not inherit priesthood through ancestry. He embodied priesthood through life. Hebrews tells us how. He has become a priest, not on the basis of a legal requirement concerning bodily descent, but by the power of an indestructible life. Hebrews 7 verse 16. This is the turning point. Aaron's priesthood was built on rules. Jesus' priesthood is built on resurrection. Death could end their ministry. Death could not end his. And here is the shocking truth most people miss. Jesus didn't fail the law. The law was giving way to something greater. This is why God swore an oath he never swore for Aaron. The Lord has sworn and will not change his mind. You are a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. Psalm 110 verse 4. Forever, not temporary, not symbolic, not transferable. Melchizedek was not the fulfillment. He was the signpost. Jesus is the reality the sign was pointing toward. Under the law, priests stood daily because the work was never finished. They stood offering the same sacrifices again and again for the same sins. But Jesus does something radically different. When Christ had offered for all time a single sacrifice for sins, he sat down at the right hand of God. Hebrews 10 verse 12. He sat down, not because he was tired, but because nothing was left undone. No more repeated sacrifices. No more temporary coverings. No more distance between God and humanity. Jesus did not come to improve the old system. He came to complete what it could never accomplish. And Scripture makes a staggering declaration. Therefore, he is able to save completely those who come to God through him, since he always lives to intercede for them. Hebrews 7 verse 25 always lives. This priesthood does not expire. It does not weaken with time. It does not need successors. And now we arrive at the moment that should stop you. If Jesus' priesthood is eternal, if he always lives to intercede, if his work is finished, why does he leave? Why does he ascend? Why does he look at his disciples and say something that sounds almost unbelievable? It is to your advantage that I go away. John 16, verse 7. How could the physical absence of Jesus possibly be better than his presence? Because the priesthood was never meant to remain external. Melchizedek appeared briefly. Jesus fulfilled the priesthood perfectly. But what happens next changes everything. Jesus does not abandon his priesthood when he ascends. He multiplies it, not by making new saviors, but by sending his Spirit. Because the priesthood that once rested on one man was about to dwell in many. And if that is true, then Christianity is not about visiting God's presence. It's about carrying it. And that's what we're uncovering next. The priesthood didn't end with Jesus, it moved.